The year is 2004, and Cartoon Network is about to change. Its powerhouse era that had gone on for nearly 6 years would be coming to a close. As this was happening, the Powerpuff Girls would conclude their 5th season, and a new show, Mucha Lucha, would have its premiere. And in the midst of all of this, one of the network's most prominent programming blocks of all time, Toonami, would leave weekdays behind. What had been ruled by Transformers, Justice League, and Rurouni Kenshin was now going to change. It was now going to move to Saturday nights exclusively. The network wanted a change, and that change was going to be Miguzi.
You can cannonball, you'll be right at home.
Looks like this is gonna be good.
Duh.
Miguzi, premiering Monday from 5 to 7, only on Cartoon Network.
Miguzi, despite its differences, is still the brainchild of the Toonami team at William Street. However, this time around they were tasked with making it more family-friendly. Perhaps the network wanted shows that were less violent, given the fact that a lot of cartoons and anime that Toonami played sometimes towed the line between acceptable and somewhat questionable, at least for that time. And so Toonami was moved to Saturday night, for an older teen demographic.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I could see it. A lot of the time shows on Toonami would have to be heavily edited or not even show certain episodes of the series they had put on the air. And so it was. A new block, new shows, and a new host. Speaking of which, what may have worked for Tom, I don't think works for the rest of the crew of Miguzi. Tom and his co-host Sarah work in CGI because one is a robot and the other is an AI. Tom can have blocky shapes to his model, and at least at the time, clunky animation was fine for his robot movement. However, for Miguzi, Cartoon Network and William Street decided to make a human girl, and, well, the results speak for themselves. It's one thing for theatrical films, which were still getting down the look even around this time. However, this was made with a television budget, and it shows. The only saving grace of the host named Erin was her voice, played by Jessica DeChico, who you might recognize as Flame Princess from Adventure Time, although her co-host seemed to fare a lot better in the animation department. First, we have Remo, an autonomous robot remote control. Okay, Bass, a sentient bipedal speaker. I don't really remember these guys all too well, but what I do remember is that I thought they were a bit more creative, let's just say. Okay, what's next? Oh look, a TV, and his name is Monitor. Oh, excuse me, Dr. Monitor. And finally, we've made it to the aliens and monsters. Big Stalks, the green big boy over here. And then there's Flip, the one with an anglerfish eye. Trey, an up-and-coming hentai star with 5 eyes. Okay. Tweet, who is not the bluebird. And I'll be honest, I don't know who this is. I'm pretty sure it's the small speaker character who I thought was linked up with Bass, but I guess not. For the last 2 hosts, we have Yoke, a fan creation made by Kyler Spears, making this Kyler's peak in life. Just kidding, he's actually quite successful. As an artist, Kyle would go on to storyboard for series such as Clarence and We Bare Bears. Meanwhile, I'm stuck here in my room trying to make videos for my baby YouTube channel. We're the same age, by the way. Oh yeah, Yoke has a brother named Curly. They look nothing alike, but they're brothers, I guess? And finally we have Salty, another human character, but he only shows up periodically. Apparently he does some of the educational work and discusses sea life for the kids, which is fine seeing as though the crew is stationed underwater. In a spaceship? Maybe they borrowed it from Tom. Throughout the various bumpers, we would see the crew playing games or playing pranks on one another. I even distinctly remember this scene of Yoke cleaning the entire kitchen. Before I go any further, I should probably discuss the main attraction to this block, or rather its main point, the schedule. While Toonami predominantly had quite a bit of anime during its lifespan, Miguzi didn't really have as much. And quite frankly, the ones it did have were, well, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Although Miguzi did have Totally Spies and Code Lyoko. Totally Spies being about 3 teenage girls going on adventures and secret missions as spies. This is the show that if Sailor Moon didn't do something for you as a kid, this one most certainly did. And Code Lyoko is that one French animated show that's half 2D and half 3D. This is the one where the characters have foreheads that would make even Sakura blush. I swear I don't remember their foreheads being this big. And while I have a bit of nostalgia for Miguzi, I can't say I have that much love for it compared to Toonami. Miguzi did have an atmosphere underwater, but I feel like space was a better fit overall. Plus, I feel like Miguzi talks down to you, or I guess more specifically, it feels more for kids than Toonami does. Aaron and the gang are just playing board games and horsing around. Tom and Sarah, meanwhile, are fighting out villains and going on adventures in space when they're not watching anime or cartoons. And I feel like outside of the bumpers, Miguzi didn't really have anything. No game reviews or motivational speeches. Despite what I've said though, 3 years isn't a bad run for TV. But when you compare her to her older brother Toonami that was revived and is still going to this day, it's not hard to see what worked overall and who ultimately came out on top. Bear in mind that Toonami was cancelled in 2008, but did come back. Man, they don't make them like they used to. Matter of fact, I don't think they make them anymore at all. These programming blocks, I mean. These adventures in between the shows that you're watching. Watching these characters in the commercials while you're waiting for your show to come on. Characters that are in fact watching the show with you. Toonami is probably the last bastion of its kind, and even then it's still a shell of its former self. There are no new speeches, and there's barely any game reviews. If it weren't for Toonami Rewind, I would have thought the brand was almost dead. Miguzi, during its final year, would eventually switch to a 2D art style, losing its 3D environment and most of its characters, along with actually losing a character in its host Aaron. And then it would vanish, never to be seen or heard from again, except for us YouTubers bringing it up periodically. And honestly, I think that's all that's left of the sad legacy of Miguzi, the Toonami successor. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want to hear more from me, I have a Patreon. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I'm on the road to 10K subscribers next year. Thanks so much, and until next time, guys.